We'll come back to you. Let's go to the Iranian foreign minister, who is giving a press conference.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, together with the entire diplomatic corps within the Islamic Republic of Iran and beyond, renew their pledge to continue to follow the directives of the leader of the nation to the best interest of our nation and to achieve the objectives of our foreign policy. Now, if you allow me, I will not have an introduction or any briefing statement. I will open the floor directly to questions. The President of the United States spoke about changing the geography of Iran by the end of the war. In a statement made by him a few days ago, he is going in line with the Zionist entities' enterprise to partition our country. How is the Foreign Ministry considering this issue? What is really realistic and what defines the shape of our nation is the will of our people. The U.S. President has been speaking about many issues with regards to a number of world states from Canada and beyond. He had a number of diverse opinions, and governments of the world have come to realize that the U.S. President is dealing as if he is handling a real property transaction. For us, each and every state has its own border, and these border lines are expressive of the extension of their nation's civilizations. The Iranian people are proud of their geography, and they are prepared to sacrifice their lives to safeguard and defend our home soil. Iran has always been and will always be a graveyard of the enemies. The Iranian people are fully aware and prepared to defend their home soil. Other states or other peoples did not realize the realities on the ground, and they have. And if Iran is defragmented or partitioned, the consequences will be extremely dire. The international law, as well as the international charters, are now in jeopardy. So all free men worldwide who are concerned with the world peace should consider what is taking place. Any indifference or inaction will have dire consequences on the entire world. A question about the election and selection of our third supreme leader. And after my congratulations and following the statement made by the U.S. officials on the partitioning of Iran and taking control of oil resources, there are a number of reactions, and many believe that Iran will continue to fight until they teach a lesson to the belligerent enemies, and any ceasefire will be serving their agenda. There is no doubt about the designs and objectives of the United States, namely to take illegal and unlawful control of our oil resources. If they were capable of doing so, and if they believe they will be able to seize control of our oil together with that of Venezuela, now they will be in control of 31% of the whole world's oil resources. They have openly stated that they have been engaged in this war to serve Israel. And therefore, the objectives of the United States behind their war on Iran have all come clear to our people. They have come clear and obvious to our people. All our efforts are centered on defending our home soil, defending our territories in the face of these brutal and ferocious attacks by the enemies. And I believe we have all realized and learned from past experience that the belligerent confrontations between the United States and America go back beyond the 70s of the last century, at a time where Iran were struggling to break free of the shackles of the imperial forces. The cooperation by the United States with the collaborators who betrayed Iran have caused a great deal of instability, and our people have come to realize that the diplomatic course was torpedoed by the United States, and they waged a war on Iran while we were fully engaged in diplomatic discourse. Therefore, we are all one hand and one voice defending our country.
Thank you for the opportunity. With your permission, I will raise my question in English and then provide the Farsi translation for my fellow colleagues. While the US officials, particularly the US president, consistently use phrases like helping the people of Iran, Iran will have a great future, let's make Iran great again, and phrases like that to justify their actions against Iran, recently some of their statements have given pause for thought. For example, the US president's remarks suggesting that in his view, Iran's map after the war will not look the way it does today. Using terms that suits the US government best, such as evil, to describe the Iranian nation.
The Iranian people as evil. I believe your question is clear. You can repeat it in Farsi. The US officials reiterate the same statement that they are doing this in order to lend a helping hand to the Iranian people, and they are justifying their actions, some related to changing the map of Iran, which will not be the same after this war. They also describe the Iranian people as evil. This is not something new. History has it that they have been manipulating, describing, or labeling the Iranian people as terrorists or evil. And if you even ask young children, they are fully aware of these facts. However, our observers and analysts can provide the suitable response. Children in Minab and Lamerd and Fars and Tehran and other areas. They have come under attack. The Americans and the Israelis are not only attacking schools and civilian facilities, but they also attacked oil installations. Is this an act meant to help the Iranian people? These are shameful acts. They assaulted the school, and they alleged that they will investigate the matter. With these shameful acts, it is a living proof that they are accustomed to killing innocent civilians, and they are not even living up to the responsibility. They are evading responsibility. It is clear that this war is a war between a party seeking to wreak killing, destruction against a state and a people who are acting with dignity to defend their sovereignty and territorial integrity. The U.S. Secretary of War stated that those who should concern are the Iranian people. It has come clear that they are seeking simply to wreak killing among the Iranian people. This is quite clear, and I have responded to this matter previously. Many issues are quite clear. They are even too clear to ask about. These facts are now established before the eyes of the Iranian people. In their assault on Iran, they do not distinguish between any ethnicity or group. Even the description and the labels they are putting on the Iranian people all reflect their objectives. All the statements made by them are meant to demonize Iran and the Iranian people. They described the Iranian people as evil. They are paving the way in order to manipulate and influence the public opinion and to dodge the responsibility for their actions. This, per se, constitutes a full-fledged crime. It is also an expressive of their genuine design and enterprise to perpetrate crimes. These are all living proofs to not only to the Iranian people, but to the regional and global populations. Their actions are not limited to Iran, but they go beyond to other countries and other states. What Iran is doing now is to proudly and with steadfastness defending its sovereignty and territories. They have violated all the international laws, norms, and practices which have been forged after great efforts made by many over the past years. The U.S. Secretary of War stated that during the 12-day war, Washington was able to destroy all Iran's military capabilities. Based on this presumption, together with theirs on the nuclear facilities, how do you respond? I have stated earlier that Their design is clear. Their enterprise is quite obvious. They aim at partitioning our country to take illegal possession of our oil riches. Even before the US and Zionist entities' belligerent acts started, we were fully engaged in diplomatic efforts and many rounds of talks. They are doing all they can in order to provide justification to their crimes. Their objective is to violate our sovereignty, defeat our people, and undermine our humanity. All these facts are quite clear, and we do not have to elaborate. On the very first day, they targeted the residential area of the supreme leader, where he, together with a number of military leaders, were killed. After that, they assaulted Al-Minab school, killing innocent students. Also, on the first day of their assault, the total number of innocent women and children was extremely high. And they continue to falsely allege that they targeted and killed military personnel. Again, their objective is to destroy our country and our nations. But make no mistake, with our fortitude and bravery, their objective cannot be achieved. Recently, a number of media reports were circulated that Iran assaulted Cyprus, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. However, the Iranian armed forces stated that they had no objective targets in these countries. We also heard that Azerbaijan are about to close down their diplomatic mission in Iran. How do you think this will have an impact on the public opinion within the region? And did they provide any documents in relation to this issue to Iran? We have been repeatedly reiterating to the regional countries and neighboring states that we are adamant to maintain good and friendly relations. Therefore, communication will continue to be exchanged with these countries based on mutual respect and also respect to sovereignty, namely at this particular point of time, especially if we are assaulted from these countries, as the regional countries' home soil are used to launch attacks against Iran. We, under the international laws, have all the right to defend ourselves, and our act of defense cannot be interpreted as an act of hostility against any of these countries, namely Cyprus, Turkey, and Azerbaijan, the one you named in your question. We have openly and candidly stated that no offensives were initiated from Iran territories. Even some British officials confirmed this fact. However, we have warned repeatedly that the enemy may stage certain attacks in order to drive a wedge between us and other countries. They may raise a false flag or stage attacks in order to implicate Iran. In 1954, you may recall how the Zionist entity carried out an act of sabotage with an aim to drive a wedge between Iran and a number of states. Recently, we have come to know that they also attempted to carry out acts of terrorism in Saudi Arabia and Qatar with an aim to throw these acts on Iran. There is no doubt all these acts will have a negative impact on relations. However, our president had a telephone communication with the president of Azerbaijan, during which he reiterated that this offensive was not initiated from Iran's territory. Again, we are adamant to maintain good and friendly ties with our neighbors. At the same time, the neighboring countries should understand our position. Equally enough, again, we will respond to all the territories from which attacks against Iran originate. The neighboring countries have come to realize that the U.S. military bases did not bring them any peace. So what is your message to these countries in this respect? Let me start by answering the first part of your question. Once again, I believe this matter is also clear. During the past few days, it has come clear that the presence of the military, the U.S. military in the region was never a reason for peace or stability within the region. On the contrary, it is a direct cause of insecurity, instability, and above all, disputes among the regional countries. History will remember that during the holy month of Ramadan, many of the neighboring Arab and Muslim countries, their territories were used to initiate attacks against an Islamic country, which is Iran. Some turn a blind eye to the United States turn a blind eye to the interest of these countries. All what they are aiming to achieve is to serve the interest of the Zionist entity without any respect to the stability or security of these countries, the regional countries. And I hope that those countries have learned the lesson. At the same time, we request the neighboring countries not to allow their territories to be used by the United States or the Zionist entity to initiate any assault on Iran. Our request is very much established under the international laws and charters, where if a particular country or state allowed their home soil to be used to initiate an attack against a third country, according to the international law and charters, we have all the lawful rights to defend ourselves. Russia has presented a draft resolution to the Security Council in which many details are centered on ending the war and starting negotiations. Our friends in Russia, together with our representatives in the Security Council, are following on with respect to this matter. However, there is a very bitter fact which is the United Nations, the Secretary General of the organization, have failed to live up to their responsibilities. In this particular case, where a direct belligerent military act was initiated against a peaceful country, they should have started by identifying the belligerent perpetrator and hold them to account. However, regretfully, they did not. This is a living proof that the United Nations is reeling under the brunt of the US and Israel. And we have, over the past few years, that many of the international organizations and the roles have been undermined. And with the absence of these responsibilities, the Islamic Republic of Iran will continue to practice our lawful right in a more steadfast and adamant fashion. Mr. Arakji stated that currently there are a number of mediators engaged in talks about a ceasefire. Who are those officials and what are your terms for a ceasefire? I believe his statement was not circulated in an accurate matter. You should go back to this particular media report in order to understand the true content. In the face of this belligerent aggression, we have the right to defend ourselves. We did not initiate or start this war. It is not a war of choice. It was a war of necessity, which was imposed on us. And we have no alternative but to resist and defend against the unlawful act of aggression and the belligerence initiated by the United States and Israel. Therefore, all our efforts are directed and our resources channeled towards defending Iran. And as we speak, the military confrontations are still underway. And at this particular point, speaking of any other matter other than defending our homeland is irrelevant. Yesterday, a telephone call was made between the Iranian president and his French counterpart. And do you have any details? The communications and correspondence taking place at this time are all centered on the ongoing war. Many states are expressing their concern and fears. However, these concerns vary. Are they concerned about Iran and the Iranians, or are they concerned about their own citizens? Iran and the Iranians have come under direct act of belligerence, and we are defending our homeland. Other countries are concerned about oil prices or the scarcity of goods and commodities. This does not mean they shouldn't be concerned about the oil prices. But France is one of the permanent members of the United Nations, and over the past few years, France has not lived up to the responsibilities in the most suitable fashion. Many of the European countries, I regret to say, have contributed to this, and instead of adhering and upholding the international laws and steering away from the dictated orders by the United States, be it in the United Nations or elsewhere, even with respect to the reimposition of sanctions. They have acted hand in hand with the United States and the Zionist entities in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria, and we have all witnessed what took place in Lebanon. Ultimately, any country claiming to be seeking international peace, they should live up to their responsibilities, abide by and uphold the international laws and charters, and act genuinely towards achieving all these objectives, starting by identifying the belligerent party and holding them to account. We have all witnessed how the Iranian naval asset was attacked off the Sri Lankan waters, despite the fact that it was not engaged in the ongoing war. This act constitutes a full-fledged war crime simply because this warship was not part of the military operations taking place within the area. Also, the laws and norms and practices governing the maritime affairs are clear. This naval ship was far and beyond the Iranian territorial waters. This act has no justification in any law or norm. Even the Nazi Germany did not commit such an act. Even when any of the British ships during the World War II was attacked, the Germans themselves provided assistance to those on board. The United States did not even think of lending a helping hand to our sailors and seamen. It is a blatant and flagrant violation of international maritime laws. It is also a flagrant violation of the 1949 Convention on helping and providing support to the injured within the maritime environment. There is a package of international laws and maritime treaties that were openly and blatantly violated by the United States, targeting this particular naval ship. We have presented the matter to the relevant international organization, and it is one of a myriad of violations, and will continue to follow up with these.
در یکی دو روز اخیر مخصوصا بعد از حمله به تأسیسات نفتی و مخازن نفتی در تهران و جاهای دیگه
Over the past few days and following the attack on oil reserves in Iran, the Iranian armed forces spokesman stated that they will have an equal and similar response. However, it is not clear, are you going to target or attack the oil facilities of the regional countries or those housing military bases. We have repeatedly stated that we are upholding international laws and territory and international treaties. During the 8-year war against Iraq and Saddam Hussein, if you go back to the records, we did not commit a single war crime. On the other hand, the other party started by targeting innocent civilians and other residential areas. They also targeted, attacked, and destroyed many infrastructure facilities, not only oil tankers, oil reserves, but other facilities which had a direct impact on the environment. And as you may have noticed, many of the waterways and water networks were impacted. Black clouds and black rains were also noticed as a result. These violations not only violate the international laws and charters, but also have a dire impact on the environment. The enemies have crossed many red lines. And above all, they have crossed many of the moral and ethical lines. The armed forces will continue to consider the most appropriate response. Again, I emphasize that the peoples of the region, the Arab and Muslim peoples within the vicinity of the Persian Gulf, especially during this holy month of Ramadan, to them I reiterate that we are not at war against you. We are simply defending our home soil against belligerent actors who have respect to no laws, norms, or practices. They have turned your states to facilitate and support their military actions and belligerent offenses against Iran, and therefore any of these facilities are lawful targets to our armed forces. There are some reports that Iran has only 130 launchers for the missiles. This is, again, a matter of miscalculation. Let them continue lingering in these illusions. It was them who started this war, and now they feel they are caught in this quagmire. Many false rumors are being circulated that Iran has run out of resources, and I am certain that our brave armed forces will prove the opposite and will demonstrate the capabilities we enjoy over the coming days. In this war, we have seen many non-military areas being attacked, civilians being targeted, and above all, many officials and figures are being threatened. From the legal perspective, have you initiated any legal action? The whole world is watching. Iran is acting in line with our responsibilities, upholding and abiding by the laws and treaties before the human rights organizations, the United Nations, the International Red Cross, World Health Organizations, and many of the other international organizations. We are acting in line with our responsibilities. We uphold our responsibilities towards the so-called international community. In return, they should reciprocate, rather than turning a blind eye to what's taking place. This does not necessarily mean we are incapable of defending our homeland. To the contrary, we are fully prepared and will continue to defend our home soil, our resources, and these violations will have quick and dire consequences on the whole world, namely the regional countries, who are now reconsidering what has been taking place over the past 20 years and how the parties have been acting as the Americans and the Zionist entity continue with their enterprise to weaken the Arab and Muslim states. They not only drive a wedge between the Arab and Muslim states, but also target those countries in an attempt to undermine their capabilities. I have two questions. Please limit it to one. After the election of the leader of our country, will you have new diplomatic messages to the region and the world? Also, it is reported that Mr. Mujtaba has been wounded. Is he in a good physical condition to be able to lead the country, especially that, or the matter will stay with the interim presidential council? He is now the leader of the country, and in line with the protocols and laws, all the necessary measures have been satisfied, and he has been lawfully elected as the leader. And from that moment, he is ready to resume his duties. However, we are in a position defending our homeland, and the message is already out. The entire Iranian people are one hand, one voice, ready to defend their sovereignty, security, and pride. This is an existential threat, and we will continue to march in this direction. The last visit made by the United States President, and he is scheduled to pay a visit to China. How do you see that? What is important to us is to see, and what we expect, that the states, namely the permanent members of the United Nations, to live up to their responsibilities and uphold the law. Our ties with China are based on mutual respect and cooperation. There is also a strategic agreement with China, which is closely monitored followed up with and put into implementation. The whole world is witnessing what is unfolding in our region. The whole world is now aware which party is violating the laws and charters, and it has come clear that the United States is not paying any respect to any law, treaty, or agreement. They are acting unilaterally with their policy of hegemony to gobble up other states' riches. One of their officials, Lindsey Graham, with hubris, stated that when we take control of Iran's oil, we will be in control of 31% of the whole world's oil reserve, and it will be a nightmare to China. Let's wait and see. What is the foreign policy towards the presence of U.S. military bases within the regional countries? And it is also reported that they will have many bases will be established in other states, including Malaysia. Some states have declared their position and reiterating that what happened is a full-fledged crime, total violation of the international law. This means that many states have condemned the U.S. and Zionist entities' belligerence. These states are acting responsibly, and they have decided to stand on the right side of history. All those states who have openly rejected and condemned this belligerence, their positions are highly appreciated, while other states who remained silent and in a very few cases, some acted in line with the belligerent party, serving the objectives of the belligerent party. They will face the consequences. The foreign minister is intensely in communication with many officials worldwide. Even average citizens within the region, even in Europe and beyond, have the moral obligation to stand up to this wrongdoing, this injustice, to speak out and rise against these policies, which started about 3 years ago within our region. As you are aware, the developments unfolding in Iran will not impact Iran's alone, but will spill over to the region and beyond. And following the assassination of the supreme leader, there are many concerns. And we are proud of our state and our people who stood up firmly with steadfastness against this act of belligerence. However, many fear the future of Iran, as well as other resistance factions in Palestine and elsewhere. Despite the fact the military campaign, belligerent military campaign, is still underway, and despite the fact that the Council of Experts premises were targeted, which all represent barbaric acts, public institutions and government premises were also targeted. And recently, public services like fire brigade, police station, and other government sector installations, even the diplomatic police, whose mission is to protect and safeguard the diplomatic missions within Iran, they were all under attack. Despite all these violations, our message was clear. And you may have all watched all these crimes and all these violations. Even the diplomatic police came under a series of attacks. One assault was initiated, and while they were working on the scene, a second assault came in order, and I believe all these crimes must be documented. Under such circumstances, the Constitution is clear. The lawmakers also have a clear idea about their obligations in this respect. However, despite all this, the message was clear. Our people stood together. They were able to elect their leaders, and not only the average common men, but also the Iranian officials are acting wisely in harmony in order to continue to undertake the affairs of the country. One last question. Any briefing about the closure of diplomatic missions within Iran? This matter did not take place. However, more than 100 diplomats within different diplomatic missions are still in the country. However, some consulates and embassies decided to reduce the number of their officials. The rest are up and running. On our part, we are doing our best to maintain the security and provide the necessary protection to all these diplomatic missions. However, the belligerent parties have crossed all red lines, violating all war-related wars and protocols. And here, allow me to, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning of my statement, we should send our greetings and we salute our armed forces personnel who are acting bravely with steadfastness, protecting our homeland. They are shaping our future. They are standing on the forefront, side by side with the rocket launchers, putting their lives in harm's way. To them, we say, you are the epitome of bravery and intrepidness. Our history has it that your sacrifices will never be forgotten. We are certain that you, the armed forces personnel, our brave armed personnel, will be able to force the enemy out.